What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another reaction video from the YouTube channel called Secret Base. This one submitted to us by Crayontis, long time subscriber, supporter. Appreciate you, my guy. The Robert Horry and Danny Ainge beef is what happens when your rival becomes your coach. I don't know anything about this. I had no idea Danny Ainge and Big Shot Bob had any type of, beef. Now, I can't imagine this would have started or festered when they were players because they only had a couple years of overlap as basketball players, right? I think Danny Ainge retired mid-90s, maybe 94, 95, something like that. Robert Horry was drafted in the early 90s. So at most, they would have had 3 or 4 years of overlap, I think. So I can't imagine. I don't know. I got to see what this is about. I have no idea. Appreciate you guys for stepping in. Let's get into it.
In the mid-90s, Danny Ainge and Robert Horry played for rival Western Conference contenders. 2 years in a row, their teams battled through heated, back-and-forth 7-game playoff series. Then, a single season after that, Ainge became Horry's coach, and their rivalry was water under the bridge. Just kidding, there was no water, there was no bridge, there was only beef. Ainge and Horry's dislike for one another is rooted in rival teams and long playoff series, but from those roots, beef grew and blossomed because of the kind of player Danny Ainge was. Let's get to know him. Ainge was extremely athletic. He played professional baseball before joining the NBA. He was a good shooter, clutch, a role player who helped the Celtics win titles in '84 and '86. But perhaps he was best known for being a jerk. He threw elbows, he complained to refs with an expressive and coincidentally hateable face. He got into fights, often starting them, like he did here in 1983 when he tackled center Tree Rollins. We can't see what's happening in here, but Ainge ended up needing 5 stitches in his finger because Tree Rollins bit him. But within a few years of that fight, everyone just assumed Ainge was the one who had bitten Rollins. His label as a dirty player superseded facts. Now, don't feel too bad for Ainge because he liked playing the villain. See? Detroit fans made this shirt in the '87 Western Conference Finals. Ainge saw it, and his response was, "I want one." It also didn't help that Ainge did all this stuff while on dominating teams. Look at the Celtics team he joined as a rookie. Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, Dennis Johnson, 4 future Hall of Famers. And jumping ahead to times more relevant to this beef, look at the Suns team he joined at the end of his career. Charles Barkley, Kevin Johnson, Dan Marley, 3 All-Stars. In '93, his first year with Phoenix, they went to the finals. Ainge was 34 years old and came off the bench, but saw big minutes, contributed, and he provided his signature spark. The Suns didn't win the finals, but '94 looked promising for them. It also looked promising for the Houston Rockets, Robert Horry's team. Now, of course, they weren't known as Robert Horry's team. '94 was Horry's sophomore season. He was a starter, developing into a reliable scorer under the mentorship of Rockets vets, at least one of whom probably held a grudge against Ainge. Because, as you recall, Ainge tackled him mid-game and then got his fingers too close to Rollins' mouth. The Rockets and Suns met in the second round of the '94 playoffs. After Houston blew leads to lose the first 2 games, Game 3 got a little beefy. It didn't hit Horry v. Ainge directly, but the events of Game 3 provided the table setting for our future beef. First, Mario Elie earned an and one off Ainge and celebrated near Ainge's face. Later, with Houston up big at the end of the game, Hakeem Olajuwon threw down a huge dunk, and he and Ellie congratulated themselves. Ainge, perhaps taking offense at the second round of showboating, responded. That is a former professional baseball player winding up and pelting Ellie in the face. He then dodged the ball to keep possession. Heads up play. Ainge claimed it was an accident, but nobody bought that. Especially not the Rockets. But as Ellie explained, it's not like they could start a fight without jeopardizing their season. So they found a myriad of other ways to get revenge on Ainge. First, they spent the next game getting a little rough with Danny, as Horry revealed on his podcast in 2021.
All we tried to do was just hurt him. He would come off screens and we were just like, we were like nailing him, right?
Then Olajuwon talked a little poop in the press, not just calling Ainge dirty, but a duplicitous person who might be on a path to hell? This feels threatening, right? Next, they ended the Suns' season and went on to win the finals. Okay, those last two they likely didn't do just to spite Danny, but the spite was surely an added bonus. The following year, Rockets and Suns again met in the second round. The attitude in Arizona, as expressed by Ainge, was that the Rockets shouldn't have won last year, and they won't win this year. The Suns went up 3-1 and got a little cockier, which made it all the more embarrassing when the Rockets came back and forced the series to 7 games. In Game 7, Ainge was on fire. He hit a couple clutch shots, twice giving his team a 1-point lead in the final minutes. But in the final seconds, Ellie hit a corner 3 to break the tie. And apparently last year's headshot hadn't spoiled his penchant for celebrating. Ainge was out-clutched, the Rockets won the series, and the next one, and the finals again. Ainge retired. The beef at this point, well, first of all, seems over. Houston wins, Ainge ages out of contention. And also, it's very much a team-oriented beef. The Rockets versus Ainge. It only affected Horry because he was on the Rockets. But Horry's young, this was his first and only team. He was a major component of this team, not just a starting role player, but a difference maker. He hit this game winner in the 95 Western Conference Finals, and this game sealer in the 95 Finals. The Rockets were his identity, so he took things personally. The team's beef was his beef, which years later he talked about at great lengths.
I hated Danny Ainge.
And then Ainge and Horry found their paths smashing back into one another. In the summer of '96, just 1 year into his retirement, the Suns hired Ainge as assistant coach. A few months later, the Rockets, dissatisfied with not three-peating, traded 4 players, including Horry, to the Suns. Now, they could have put their past behind them and started anew, but seems everything was a little too raw for that. According to Horry, the first thing Ainge said to him upon his arrival in Phoenix was, "I threw the ball at Ellie's face on purpose." And thus, we get another, more refined serving of beef. Once the season got underway, the Suns totally sucked. Horry thought it was because of the way coaches ran practices, as he said on his podcast in 2020.
The culture there was not good. They was soft. They didn't know how to practice hard.
Now, he's saying this well after the fact. At the time, Horry didn't tell the press or coaches practices were soft. But he wasn't totally silent either. After an 18-point loss to Chicago, the Suns held a practice in which they were focusing on offense. A frustrated Horry questioned why they weren't focusing on defense. And, as Horry tells it, Ainge then turned to him and said, "You're the worst defensive player on the team." Never mind that the previous year Horry was top 25 in steals and blocks. When the Suns hit 0-8, the head coach resigned, and someone who pretty openly disliked Robert Horry became head coach. I bet you can guess who. One of Ainge's first moves? Demote Horry from the starting lineup. This might seem incredibly petty, but Horry was actually playing badly in Phoenix. He couldn't find his shot. Taking him out of the starting lineup seemed more like a basketball decision than a personal decision. Oh, and just curious, what was the first game Horry didn't get to start? Oh, his first game in Houston since he was traded away? Alright, maybe there was some pettiness going on. As the season continued, Horry saw his minutes dwindle, and he didn't shoot any better. But December 26th, a late Christmas miracle. The Suns traded away 3 starters for Jason Kidd. which meant Horry was bumped back up to a starting spot. And the team said they believed in him. Even Ainge had something nice to say along with something negative. Horry started the next 5 games, but he didn't see his minutes increase. And wait, why'd he only start 5 games? Well, let's take a look at what happened in the 4th quarter of that 5th game. With 10 minutes and 30 seconds left and the Suns up 1, Horry checked into the game. Alright, nothing bad there. Within 3 minutes, he got called for offensive goaltending and then badly missed a 3. He was only 1 for 4 the entire game. With 7:12 left, he was taken out. Not an ideal situation, but not unreasonable either, right? Wrong, says Robert Horry. And saying stuff wasn't quite enough, 'cause Horry threw a towel in his coach's face. From pretty close. This is gonna be bad for Robert Horry, yeah? After the game, Horry told the media he apologized to his team and Ainge. He also said Ainge took some of the blame, which Ainge adamantly denied. The coach got a little passive-aggressive in the press, but mostly tried to downplay the incident. A few days later, he admitted the whole thing was embarrassing. Here he was trying to start a career as a coach, and his players didn't even respect him. But the people of Arizona had no problem sticking by their coach and absolutely roasting Horry. He was suspended for 2 games. The Suns' president wished it was longer, but the players' union capped it. There were, of course, other ways to keep Horry from donning a Suns uniform ever again. Without Horry, in the latter half of the season, the Suns improved dramatically. This was more likely due to Jason Kidd's addition than Horry's subtraction, but nonetheless, the towel throw became emblematic of how far the team had come. It was the low point from which they rebounded. Ainge actually framed the towel and hung it in his office. When Ainge retired from coaching a few years later, the towel incident was remembered as an example of what a great guy Ainge was. How'd Horry fare after insubordination and a hasty trade to the Lakers?
More championships.
Well, the first time he played in Phoenix again, he was booed. He told reporters he tried not to think about his time with the Suns because it was such a bad memory. Making it easier to forget, he went on to win 3 championships in a row with the Lakers.
And with the
Big
Spurs.
Shot Bob reemerged during those title runs, and it seemed Big Petulant Bob, who couldn't shoot, was dead and buried back in Phoenix. As a free agent in 2003, he signed with the Spurs for millions and millions of dollars. The Spurs wanted him for his sharpshooting, but also because of his good attitude. He was selfless, a hard worker, a winner. Seems nobody spent time thinking about his days in Phoenix. Oh, and he won 2 more championships with the Spurs, and hit a game winner in the 2005 finals. Throwing a towel at Danny Ainge ended up giving Robert Horry the best life possible? The guy has more rings than Michael Jordan, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and lots of other all-time greats. In 2022, he said throwing the towel was the best business decision he ever made. He's joking around, but also, it's true. Robert Horry won this beef. I mean, neither guy fared badly. Ainge got to be the victim, the good guy for once in his career. In the past, even when someone bit him, he didn't get to be the victim. And sure, Horry had to have a miserable half season, and his friend got pelted, but he got to throw a towel at someone he hated, leave a bad team, join and contribute to a dynasty, which gave him a nice little reputation to join and contribute to another dynasty. Somebody get a cake mold in the shape of a crown, pack it full of ground beef, bake it at 350 for 20 minutes, and give it to Robert Horry.
Yeah, I had no idea about any of that. Danny Ainge, crazy boy. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I learned that when I first started doing stuff on this channel with the Boston Celtics and Danny Ainge, that he used to play baseball. So yeah, that's a baseball player pitching a basketball at your face, bro. And then years later goes on to say, yeah, I did that on purpose. Well, listen, you didn't have to say that to know that. For me to know that you did that on purpose, Danny. I could see from the video footage you did that on purpose, Danny. And the pride that Robert Horry had out of Houston Rockets to carry that with him speaks volumes about buying into a team concept, putting that jersey on your back, wearing that jersey, bleeding for that jersey. You know what I mean? But little things like this between, 2 role players tells you how much rich beef and stories really go unnoticed, untold, or really doesn't carry any weight in the public spaces. We're talking decades of basketball and a bunch of interesting stories that a lot of us probably haven't even heard or waiting for somebody to share with us. So that was a cool one to get a hold of right there. Quite funny. Did you notice on Robert Horry's podcast when they were bringing up the video footage, if you look at his background, he basically has murals behind him, what seems to be iconic moments from his career regarding him specifically. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, listen, a lot of players aren't going to be very acceptive of, you coming in as a coach now and then immediately shooting a dagger his way. Some players might respond well to that, but a lot of them will not. Man, oh man. And then when Danny Ainge basically called him out saying, yo, you the worst defensive player on the league, or you're the best defensive player on the team, bro. What you even talking about? But you know what? That's not a fair slight, because let's just say if he was the worst defensive player on the team, him bringing up wanting to play more defense is a good thing, and you would want that player to bring that up and talk about as far as strengthening a weak point in his game. It's not any reason to bury him. I'm just saying. Man. Anywho, tell me what you think about it. Let me hear your opinion. If you have anything you can add to this, please let me know in the comment section. Crayontis, again, appreciate your family. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified. Catch you on the next one. We out, baby.